Hey everyone, this is Mimosa and welcome back to my channel. Do your watercolor paintings sometimes feel empty or unfinished? In today's tutorial, I'll share 4 simple watercolor background ideas that can instantly make your artwork feel softer, more lively, and more atmospheric. Now, each background uses a slightly different approach, but all of them are beginner-friendly and easy to adapt to your own style. Let's move on to the first background idea. For this first painting, I'm going to paint the subject first before working on the background. Instead of wetting the entire background, I'm only applying clean water to selected areas around the subject. This helps create soft watercolor blooms while still keeping some edges crisp and interesting. I like using this method when I want the background to feel airy and glowing without overpowering the main subject. Now I'm dropping in a very light blue while the paper is still damp. This creates a very organic and dreamy effect. And once everything dries, the subject stands out beautifully against the soft abstract background. For the second painting, I'll start with the background first. This is one of my favorite ways to suggest foliage and leaves without painting every detail. I'm wetting the background section by section instead of all at once. Working in smaller areas helps me keep the paper damp for longer and gives me more control over the paint flow. Now I'm dropping in different green mixtures to suggest leaves and foliage shapes. I'm not trying to paint individual leaves here. Instead, I'm focusing on loose shapes, soft edges, and color variation. Some areas are darker to create depth, while lighter spaces help the painting breathe. I also like allowing some blooms and watercolor textures to happen naturally because they make the background feel more alive. Once the background dries, I can paint the subject with clearer details. For the third background, I'm using a fan brush. This is probably the simplest technique in today's video, but it creates such fun texture and movement. I'm loading the fan brush with different colors at the same time so that the strokes don't look flat or repetitive. Using curved strokes, I lightly sweep the brush across the paper to build up layered textures in the background. Because the fan brush naturally separates into thin strands, it creates interesting marks almost effortlessly. This technique works really well for grassy texture, abstract foliage, or expressive backgrounds. So I'm keeping the process loose and relaxed. For the final background, I'm starting directly with a simple wet on dry flat wash. I'm using darker tones near the top and gradually transitioning into lighter tones below. While the wash is still damp, I'm painting in darker foliage shapes using a thicker paint mixture. Because the surface is still wet, the edges soften beautifully into the background. This creates a moody nighttime effect without needing too much detail. And now, once everything is completely dry, I'm adding the final detail, white ink splatter for snow. I'm using white ink from Paul Rubens. The splatter instantly transforms the painting and gives it the snowy night atmosphere. I love how these final steps adds movement and texture in such a simple way. And those are the 4 watercolor background ideas for today. I hope these techniques give you inspiration for your own paintings and help you experiment more with watercolor backgrounds. And if you liked today's session, let me know which background style is your favorite. Thank you so much for painting with me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye, see you real soon.